become a Jew right now by marrying a Jewish woman and converting, does my DNA then change? Why do I suddenly have the right to return?
Of course not. Absolutely. But the people are saying that they are Semites today and are claiming you might be anti-Semite and I might be anti-Semite are not themselves Semites.
Yes, I agree.
That's what I'm saying.
100%.
Yeah. And more important than that, because, you know, as you said, the same blood that runs in your veins runs in my veins, along with all our brothers here
we
too.
don't think we have special blood, and that's the difference.
Yes, but these people, do you think our Lord may you be Christian, may you be Jewish, or may you be Muslim, or any other believer in a Unitarian God, do you believe he might create somebody and say you are better than him?
No, and this is the exact point,
this is the
that
primal sin that in Christianity they say it was Adam when he ate the apple. That is not the primal sin. Was one, Iblis is the name of the devil. His name is Iblis. It's not. Yeah.
I get what you're saying, is that just this idea that a people are special,
yes,
is essentially
that
is
is
evil.
Anti-religious.
Yeah.
To say you are better than me because you're blonde, you're better than me because you're taller, you're better than me because you attended.
In the Gospel of John, Jesus confronted this problem with the Pharisees,
yes,
the Jewish leaders, and they said, "Hang on, we are special because we have the seed of Abraham. We are, in other words, our DNA is from Abraham."
Yeah.
Jesus said, "No, your DNA. God does not favor special DNA. He said it's your heart, not your DNA."
And this is why
exactly. Sorry, back to me.
So, well, this is I've only really just clicked with this. Is that if you, any of us, consider the Jews as a race that are separate to us, because, well, exactly. I'm going to make the case that they are not a race, even though some of them claim to not be religious because they're atheists or secular, right? But they claim to be a race, and I'm saying, no, they're not. Because
if today who are not even that,
they believe that they are a race that is separate from humanity because that is their religious belief. They believe that they are a separate people who shall dwell alone. If you agree with that and you see Jews as a separate race, then you have adopted their worldview. And so that's why we say that the only solution for this problem is not some kind of intervention, not some Hitlerish final solution. You can only pray for the conversion of the Jews. That's the only thing you can do, because you need them to realize that what they're doing is wrong in Israel. The Jews are in Israel doing the opposite of what Christ demanded. Why not though? Why? Because they are all Jews.
The Jews, because that's it.
No,
they're not Jewish. They're not Jews. Jews as a race, they are not. They are not.
No, it's not a race.
They call themselves. I can call myself to be.
Now we're delving into something really deep, which is the question of whether Jews exist at all. Because, and I genuinely mean it.
As a faith, they do.
Well, I agree with you, but the question is, how do we solve this problem? Because we need to. Well, no,
by recognizing the difference between
the Jews are killing children in. Wait, let me speak. The Jews are killing untold numbers of Palestinian children. That is a fact. That is factually correct. And
that's their narrative, which we need to fight against.
No, that's our narrative.
But they're not Jews.
No, let me tell you.
They're pretending to be Jews.
He is. I'm actually with you. This is the
thing.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. But I'm more than happy to elaborate on the difference between Ashkenazi Jews and Sephardic Jews.
DNA. We're not. Bring us
now
anywhere.
the issue.
Today, 95%
to a barrage of accusations of racism, but my point is I'm not wrong. So it's the guys who are calling me the racist for saying the Jews that are in the wrong, and that's the reason I stand on the box every week and say, no, but they are Jews. They are Jewish people killing babies.
The people who claim to be Jews, the people who say...
Why? Whose feelings am I sparing?
No, the Israelis also is not accurate.
There's 1
because
million Russians.
Israelis is
the
a
1 million
bloodline.
Russians that live in Israel.
For example, the Zionists...
But why are we offended? That's the question.
It's not accurate. It's not offended. I'm not offended.
Okay.
It's not accurate.
No,
and I would
but
hate to come and stab you on this line and argue it back. I want your argument to be solid and to be very
If they
accurate.
stabbed me, then they'd get arrested by those guys over there.
Can I explain to this man here? Hello. When we, as Christians, use the term the Jews, we're referring to not every single Jew in the world, but it really exists as a category, and it means the enemies of Jesus Christ. The Jewish leaders and those who follow their lead. And when we say the Jews, and that's it. And now, Nick,
British.
And we're not allowed to say it because it's called anti-Semitism. But we love the Jews. They're our enemies, but we love them. And when you love someone, you have to call out their failings. And we think genocide is a big failing, plus other things.
Now, there's other things, like it's not inaccurate to say that the Jews own the porn industry, because they do.
They do.
It's not inaccurate to say that... Well, no, because there's not necessarily a link to Israel there, not an overt one. They're just Jews. In fact, it would actually be more offensive for me to say it's Zionists that run Pornhub, because it'd be like, well, okay, now you've inferred a link that Pornhub is there for the benefit of Israel, which I would agree.
Well, we don't know if Solomon Friedman, the owner of Pornhub, is a Zionist or not. He might not be, but he's a Jew.
He's definitely a Jew, and that's the issue. Is that people are, and I believe that it's sort of from being guilted about the Holocaust, because I had a lot of Holocaust education when I was about 14. I got taken to Dachau and all sorts. I got it really drummed into me. And what's so disturbing about it is I thought that the point of all this Holocaust education was that if a situation like that flares up again, you can see it. Right? I thought that the entire point of being taken to Dachau, of being taken to whatever the Holocaust Memorial exhibit is in London, where it's just piles of shoes and all that, I thought the entire point of Holocaust education was, if a similar, comparable situation crops up again, you'll be inoculated against it, you'll be able to see it, you'll be able to spot who's being dehumanized, and you'll stand... Exactly.
Not never again for a certain...
So I was just going to say, the Jews are still using the Holocaust, or their Holocaust, to justify what they're doing now. They are.
Can I give a good example on that?
I believe the Jews need to leave Palestine with the very... It is. No, because you're prioritizing... By saying that's not a solution, you've prioritized the Jewish right to do what they want over the Palestinian right to life, as evidenced by the last year.
When we talk about solution, it should be possible and should be rational. It's like you say...
Why is it not rational?
It's like you say that, okay, all the solution to the social problem to this country is that Muslims leave the country. That's not going to happen.
But I don't even view it as a country because it's so illegitimate. Now,
Jews came to whatever area, what you call it, Palestine.
It is Palestine.
It's Palestine.
I don't accept the Zionist argument that Palestine was never an official state.
I don't care Palestine or Israel. I care about
it's
the people.
Palestine. Israel is a blasphemous
7 million
term.
people.
Yes,
It's the same story.
No, I want to kick.
Why
want to
don't?
kick them out
No,
because there has been no. Because now. See, this is my claim. Okay. So, free Palestine, brother. Yeah, because according to UN human rights, every Palestinian should have the right of return. Every single one of them that's been kicked out since 1948. So we don't have justice until every Palestinian gets to go home to where their family is from, and that relies on maybe not the Jews leaving, but certainly the Jews. Poncho, and I got wound up. I accidentally committed a hate crime on this plinth by saying that, right? And I'm very scared about it. Because organisations like the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, run by Gideon Folter, they scour through every bit of footage of anyone that stands up for Palestine to prove that they are, as you just said, a racist. Now, can you tell me the genetic component that is shared among all Jewish people?
So basically, genetics is not important in this matter.
Is there one, though?
You just said race.
You can't be a race if you don't share genetics.
To me, just
it's not a race if they
meaning,
don't share genetics.
Overall meaning of the being racist is
I judge them on their wretched belief system, not on their DNA.
That you just need
because I'm praying for them to convert. So if you converted to Christianity, that would be wonderful for me.
So
and your DNA is irrelevant.
In Israel, yeah?
Huh? Well, it's a very strange thing, because a Messianic Jew technically is a Christian, according to my conception, but they seem to support a blasphemous project, which is Israel. So they're a bit weird. I don't really know. And they're also an anomaly. They're also...
are these people baptized? Messianic Jews?
Yeah.
Well, you're not a Jew then. You're a Christian.
You're a Christian.
And you can't be both.
I mean, they accept Jesus Christ as Savior.
They call themselves this name to convince people.
Well, they're the Jesus was a Jew brigade, aren't they?
This is Christian body. It's not Jewish.
They're mutually exclusive.
The fundamental point is that the Jews, whether you like me saying that or not, they are, or at the very least, Jews. I will remove the and say at the very least Jews, even though I shouldn't. No, Because it's the majority, and I will tell you why. Basically, every Jew in Israel or Palestine supports it, and the majority of the Jews around the world do too. So we can find the Orthodox Jews that go down to the Palestine marches, but they are a minority. Just as I said earlier, if a woman is infertile and cannot have babies, that does not make her a man. And this is the same thing. No, but what I'm saying is just because similarly, like, just because some women aren't able to have babies, that doesn't preclude the existence of women as human beings that give birth to children. Just because you can find Jews that don't support the state of Israel, it doesn't mean that Jews aren't manifesting as. Zionism is the biggest manifestation of Judaism on planet Earth. So trying to say that Judaism is unrepresentative in any way, or Zionism is unrepresentative of Judaism, is nonsense, because the vast majority of Jews on earth support this madness, which the rest of us can see as a Holocaust. I mean, it is scary. It's scary when they bring their arguments and say, so you're fine with this thing that Hamas did? And I'm like, well, technically I support the right to armed resistance, so I'm not really allowed to be against it. But you seem to be fine with 10% of the Palestinian population being murdered in a year. Majority children killed with one shot to the head and one to the heart. Like, you should have had your heart broken in the last year by footage. Hopefully, you should be on Twitter and, yeah. And do you know what the footage I see is of Jewish people? Did everyone see this hostage that returned in her yellow bikini? Was anyone disgusted by the first thing she did? Like, this is a woman who was in Palestine for a year. She got to watch it firsthand. She appears to have gone back to Israel having gained weight, and the first thing she did was got off her nut at a psytrance rave, because that's all they seem to do. And I find it incredibly disgusting and offensive that this is called a country when what it is a walled terrorist fortress where they cannot stop having mephedrone-fueled psytrance orgies. That's the truth of it. If I were a Palestinian and I'd been kicked out of my house and told to live in Jordan by a bunch of Jews, and what they were currently doing was taking a load of drugs and having psytrance orgies in my house, maybe I'd be anti-Semitic too. Maybe I would.
You go ahead.
Yeah.
This man.
Do you allow me to speak?
Well, the point of Speaker's Corner is that I have the right to get on my box and rant, and everyone else has the right to do that. You are allowed to respond. You are allowed to respond. However, it's only ever Zionists that dominate the conversation. So that's what we're going with.
So whatever situation we go through, one person dominates the conversation, so we should have a time each time.
Well, yeah, but why should it be you over everyone else here? That's the point.
Have you got another question?
Don't waste time.
Has he got a question?
So I said, what's your solution to the Israeli and Palestine conflict?
I told you.
Because what
Can I
happened
just say on
in
that-
Palestine...
I actually gave you...
I would say-
Let's give
hang
him
on.
credit.
Well,
Let me just speak.
Well,
man.
you've asked that question earlier.
He just shouted for 5
You,
minutes. You
he's on the plane. Hang on. You asked that question earlier.
He said he's answered it.
You asked the question earlier.
I have already answered it, which was either
Can I
the
just
Jew,
say,
either
I
the
can't
Jews
believe
leave or
I just said...
it's too early. There's a genocide going on, and you want to know about what's going to happen after. I'd say genocide first. And then,
you on your
if
way.
someone is,
I'll see you
your
around.
house is on fire,
You on your way, man.
you don't start
Good
worrying
stuff.
about...
That's Jamie.
Ooh, awesome. How's it going, mate? Right, now I understand. Now I've got your face. That's
Well,
all
I've sent you
good.
videos.
The crew is growing. That was quite nice. That was gentle compared to the last one we had. That was gentle, but I think... I think we understand it now, which is that, like, even Arabs and Muslims are offended by this phrase, the Jews. Like, I've definitely had it with, like, Muslim preachers here, that they are much more scared to say that than I am. And I want to understand why, because for me it's been quite a quick learning curve about Zionism, but the Muslims have grown up with it. They know. And yet I think they know how dangerous it is to say the Jews, so they're locked into a bit of a paradigm where they don't. And I'm saying, come on, we got to stand up now. We've lost our crowd, so we can have a nice little break.
We can help them to understand what is meant by the term. It doesn't include all Jews, we know that. It's the Christian way to describe it, the Jewish leaders and those who follow their lead. In other words, organized Jewry that claim to represent all the Jews and have a political identity and political power. The idea that can't be spoken about is obscene, is ridiculous. It's even disrespectful to the Jews, because as a Christian I have a duty to speak about my enemies. I love them, Because Jesus said, love your enemies, but not to be able to identify them, that doesn't make sense.